All right, what's up, everybody? Thanks for hopping in. If you do, if not, it's out there for you to watch later. So, Ferrari 499 from Pokornyi. Gonna try to build it. Hopefully, I got all my stuff and I don't have to keep getting up, but we shall see here. So, let's get started. Done a little bit of pre-assembly already. So, my first step is with the 5-inch VOCOR screen, getting it attached to the display mount. And then we're going to attach it to the board. What's up, Ricky? Yep, I already forgot my first thing. Be right back. All right, helps to remember the boxes and boxes of screws. Try to make it as best as possible. So I think I found a typo already in their work instructions. It says 2 screws, but shows 4 being attached. I still have the screen protector on the VOCOR, so no one freak out. One thing that they did with this board, which this board I did buy directly just from Pokornyi in their DIY parts section versus having to source all the parts and do all the surface mount soldering like I did with the Pokornyi wheels that I just recently built. But one thing that's been super nice with this is no additional USB-A to USB-C adapter to plug the screen into the board, just directly with their little flex print male and female options just plug right into the board now. Very nice. Next up, we've got the rotary light guide at the center. Got a couple tabs here and here to go around the center. Tabs line up. It is press fit around the encoder, so hopefully it is a little snug. That would be ideal. Easy enough for that. Next up, we got the side encoders. So, nice large bag of goodies. Bags on bags on bags. I think you can go with the all one size. They do recommend the middle two encoders to be a bigger size that they have or that is available for you to print. Bags are child-proof. Kind of give you a size difference here of the two. So these will be the middles and then the four outsides. These are all 1.5 millimeter set screws. I think they're screw measurements 3x5, but it's a 1.5 millimeter hex. Chose not to go to a fancy different colors and black everything just so it's matches anything, because I hate when stuff doesn't match. Yeah, I'm sure people can relate to that. What's up, Brandon? We'll see how it goes. Hopefully I've got everything. I think I've counted 2 or 3 times to make sure I've got all the parts. I am still missing one thing, but that's it's not a big deal. I can pop it apart later. Just some O-rings for the button, how they have the buttons set up, just so it's not metal on metal contact for the lifetime of the wheel. And yeah, triple encoders are going to be an amazing feature. So because I bought the board straight from Pokornyi, I don't need to worry about my my boot pins or the serial ST-Link stuff for programming, because it already comes bootloaded and firmware and all that kind of stuff installed, and all the surface mount components installed, which is nice. So down here will be my clutch paddles, and then you got 4 switches, and then the 2 3 pin connectors for the little toggle switches that are on the back. Nah, it's Friday, man. You don't need to work. But the since it only comes with one shifter option for now, I've heard from someone else's stream that I watched that they are supposed to be including an adapter or a conversion kit to switch the back paddles to a second set of paddles instead of the toggle switches, which would be cool. Yeah, maybe 9% day. All right, set the board aside for just a moment. Gonna run out of room on my desk, I think. 3D printed enclosure. As you can see, I put all the brass inserts in already. Pokorny's aluminum backplate. One thing I noticed right away in the instructions is it's kind of tells you about these the two wings at the top of the top left and right corners of the board itself. It doesn't ever really show you installing these. It just kind of shows up right before the board actually comes together. So I'm assuming we've got to mount this after the board or the back plate goes on through a couple screw holes, but it never actually gives us that dimension. So we will have to figure it up real quick, just so I don't use overly long screws. All right, once I add the back plate in, you're gonna look at like 12 to 13 millimeter. Should be M3. We'll start with a 14. And back plate is in like that. Get one started on each side so I don't have to worry about it keep falling out. I think that's pretty good. 14 seems right. Ah, man, gotta subscribe. All right, so those are in. Should get the back plate with 3x8 countersunks, 4 of them. Heck yeah. I couldn't put my GSI shirt on. Been awkward. Next up we have the I think it's the, I'm gonna butcher this name, but we'll say it anyway, Waipu. Probably in the last few weeks, I've gotten way too much stuff. It's a little bit different than their other wheel configurations. Here it is, finally found the bag. Yeah, compared to the normal like GX aircraft type connector, this is a like Waipu is what they're calling it. So it's more of a like push fit. Line up a couple red tabs, just clicks in, snaps together. That's it. This is a tricky spot if you trying to get this connector through this mount. Got to kind of bend the wires into the pin. It works though. That's going to come straight through the back. Yeah, they give you both options. I put the GX16 cables, which is just like GSI on the two Hyper wheels that I built. Since I have another cable for this one anyway, not a big deal. Not long. It was about 10:30. I went live. Like I said, some of the stuff I had kind of like pre-done with brass inserts and things like that. But for the most part, and obviously I did all the 3D printing ahead of time. Other than that, it was just checking the parts. So you were pretty much in on time. I always go down by the handle if you're wondering why I'm holding the screwdrivers this way. Habit, work life, I build or used to build small things like this and would always start that way to make sure you weren't cross-threading with a light grip, and then before you actually went up into the handle where you could torque on something. Sound levels okay? My voice too loud, music too loud, anything like that? All right, now we're on to the shifters. So again, I elected to not build shifters. Too convenient to just get their sets that are already built and decent here. Cool. Thank you, Ricky. keeps catching. All right, shifter mounts. Gonna go up here. And for those, I need my handy dandy box of screws. And it should require 4 each side of M3 by 8mm button heads. And a 2mm driver. Make sure they go the right way. I didn't mount the paddles ahead of time, so I'll do that in a moment. There's one of them in. That's a great question. It is a Razer. Can't remember the exact model. I bought it as a wired version for my desk, so I didn't have multiple Bluetooth between the two PCs close. It's the Razer BlackShark V2X 7.1s. There you go. Yeah, no problem. It was going to drive me nuts if I didn't figure out the answer to it, so I had to take the 30 seconds. Next up will be the clutches. Buy them from them. They actually do. Ah, you're good. Buy it from them. They actually include some of the hardware for these, including some grease or oil residue here. That's nice. This definitely saves time on the builds, not having to 3D print all these smaller enclosures and things. So definitely would recommend this way. 4x14 button heads. Go to my handy dandy bucket box of hardware. Yeah, I just didn't have to mess with like the hall sensors and trying to solder all that up. Don't get me wrong, you guys seen my other projects that I've been doing in Discord. I love to solder, but not that fine. And now we've dropped our first set of hardware. We'll find it another time. My wheel will eventually catch it. Like I said, these are M4x14 button heads. Well, the M4. Ah. Got to read all the instructions. If you were to build your own, you should use the 4x14s. If you're using the aluminum ones that they offer, you've got to do 4x8. Yeah, the clutches, it's the same set of clutches that's on the Hype R, so same difference. They're very nice. And a couple touches of the button in game, and you can change, or on the wheel itself, you can pick between 3 default clutch bite points. So you can have 3 dual clutches saved to whatever you desire. And then you can also have them as switches or like button type mode. So you get a few options actually with them, which is a nice feature to have. Kind of gives you a slide option a little bit. About 10 millimeters of adjustment towards the center of the wheel or towards the outside. So I'll start with them on the furthest outside point and just see what that feels like. Here's the back of the wheel. And put some paddles on. Got their carbon option. Nice, they've beveled them. Looking for the shifter screw size. Again, M3x8s. You'll find M3x8, 3x6 is used quite a bit in the build. Yeah, I know. One thing that's cool between the 3 dual clutch modes is it comes up with a how you set them is with the 4 faceplate rotary the front encoders, and each one has a different comes up on the rev lights as a different color, so like red, green, blue, and then as you increase the one of the 3 options is like a 10% adjustment, so if you're at 40%, it will light up 4 of your RPM LEDs, and then if you go to the other rotary, it's 1%, and then the third rotary is 0.1%. So that kind of makes it nice. It lights up the settings and comes up then every time you flip between dual clutch modes as to which color it is, so you remember which one it is, and the RPMs light up accordingly to where it's set to. So I think just testing, I did like a default one's 40, one's 45, and one's 50. Let's see what the clutches take. Of course, the screws I just put away. M4x8s for the shifters, or for the clutches. Hey, Steve. Clutch paddles also have probably about 10 millimeters of adjustment in the plate itself, so you can slide them in and out according on to what finger length and what you need to reach them. The button box was fun. That's a lot of soldering, but I mean their step-by-step instruction wasn't too bad. Made it fairly easy. Find it. Next up, we've got the actual spacer. So with my wheels set up and the different ones that I run, I need a bunch. So I have their spacer, which is a I think it's 76. Something like that. I have to find it. Yeah, they have a 1351 and 76 mil option. Plus, because I need some extra space as well, I actually 3D printed at 100% infill an extra 15. And because of that, I can't use their recommended screw length. I had to bump it up to instead of an M5 by 12, I'm at a M5 by 30. Did this with both of my other wheels as well. Six of them. I think the clutches, again, I've not tried too much with like GT3 standing starts that I'd be the most familiar with. So more to come on that. But travel wise, I think they're probably the closest thing that I've found so far. It's always the fun part, getting everything to line up. Sure to not pinch any wires. Switch to a smaller right angle one here to torque it down. From the star pattern to compress everything evenly. All right, now the fun part. Now we bring the PCB with the screen in. I have slid closer to the camera, which isn't good for the angle. Try to do this so you guys can actually see it a little bit. Clutch is in, then your GX12 or this waipu type connector plugs into the kind of middle of the board here into the USB. Would help to go to the right direction. Like so. Then for the shifters, the black cable in this case, it doesn't matter which of the 4 switch ports you do. So at least it's nice, it's programmed, it's already there. So if you did modify or eventually get the kit that I've heard rumors of being in the works. Big thing here is to make sure none of your attachment points have any catches or anything like that with the wires. One thing nice about this housing and the actual the USB external connector here is that unlike the GSI one, it bent the pins pretty good. Trying to get them in there. So it's pretty good. Just checked like all your different points that are going to be eventual mounting things to make sure you don't see wires in there. Make sure everything looks flush. Two and 3x6 screws in the bottom. Best to probably leave. I know it was the case with the Hype R wheels. Definitely leave all the board screws loose until you get everything kind of in there and done. So now we got 10 3x8 screws for the rest of the mounting points. We're also going to be installing a bunch of 3D printed light guides. Basically, just come in to help direct the light up and out versus just being ambient lighting inside the board once it gets closed up. So wasting of light, don't want that. Like this light guide is just going to end up coming around much like this one's doing to just direct the light of those LEDs up. It's going to sit like that. Put some 4 or 3x8 screws in. You can see the ones that were also up here at the top for your RPM lights. That was I had already pre-assembled and put and slid into when I taped down the Vocor screen to that other 3D printed mount. Can't say the difference between the two. That is true. Just like stickers adding horsepower, light guides increase top speed, so. That one's a snug fit, but fits. They don't really provide a chart, so I actually I ordered 150. I just knew from my other wheels, like I'm running the 100 mil spacer for the GSI wheel, um, and then the BMW wheel and things like that have kind of similar, all similar spacings, and I had just kind of redone that and relayed that out. So it was kind of knowing in my head that with the SemiCube quick release and everything, I needed to be about 140 millimeters or something like that. So this just keeps all my wheels in the ballpark, so I'm not ergonomically uncomfortable, especially in longer races. So it's just going to be different for every single person on what you need and what you don't need from a spacer standpoint. Some people might be close enough they don't even need them. It might be recommended here just because I'd highly doubt that a SC like quick release would probably be a snug fit in there, so it kind of gets stuff away anyway. But yeah, it's all kind of personal preference and setup specific as to what you end up needing. All right, next up we have, what are they calling these things? Button knobs. So this is the one part I said I still don't have the O-rings in, but I'm doing this anyway, just because I have the time. So a little square output on the end of them is just going to go over top all the red buttons. And if it's bad, it didn't seem bad just test fitting in person um, with the part that will then go onto the enclosure. One screw did not really want to go down, I don't think, in there. There we go. One button is very, very close to the screen. See how this works. All right, now we're going to move set this aside a little bit. Going to the front plate. And we're going to mount standoffs. So we got 8 standoffs going in. Four by 12 millimeter countersunk. They do recommend on these that you use a little Loctite. Make sure they stay tight. Way too much, as usual. We'll be right back, needing a wrench. You guys happen to catch the 24 qualifying? Struggling mightily with this one. Wondering why I can't thread into it, and thank you. It's not even threaded on both ends. I think that's my first drop. One more and I'll give myself a drive through. That's why you always buy extras. Yeah, I think the handles are a nice size on this one. Probably one of my biggest cons against the Hype R wheel from them is the grips. They are very, very skinny. But these ones feel or look and seem to be much better than the other wheel. Next, we're going to put two smaller standoffs up here in the corners. Those are 3x12mm standoffs and 3x8mm countersunk plugs. Didn't grab a wrench small enough for this one, so we'll adapt. Okay, flipping it over. Get the fun. That's not fun, that's the receipt. Next up will be the overlay. So this whole sticker is going to go on the screen itself now. So that's why it's important to have all these countersunk things with the standoffs set, lock tight, because once this bad boy goes on, it'd be tough to change it. It's a pretty thick sticker, so it's not like normal, like really thin vinyl. As long as you don't push down too hard. Initially, you do get a little bit of wiggle room with it. Go. Next up are these button guards. So we've got a couple different options here. They'll thread in. To the faceplate, it does say to use a little bit of super glue because really the best you can do here is, or not super glue, sorry, Loctite on the threads, just because the best you can do here, it says is hand tight. To match what's actually being stated here on the thing. My normal pit limiter is over here, right by my thumb, but the graphic up here for this wheel says it up here. So I'm actually going to use the taller one that actually has like a button guard on it, on that one. So it should sit just a little higher. I am live right now, Adam. Kind of worked out in my schedule. All the parts came in, so this was the best time for my personal schedule to do it. Over the course of probably the next several days, and I'm impatient, so we are live. I don't think I'm starting a new career. Not yet. I guess for uniformity's sake, I will put the other button guard option in that same place up here, so both will be here. Which means, since I ordered 2 of the button guards, I'll have 2 extra of the normal size options left over. Next up, we'll actually be mounting the enclosure to the front plate. Got 8 4x12 countersunk screws. Counting is difficult. How about llama boxes? So here again, I would make sure that you're checking in the wheel, like in the openings where this is actually going to come through, that you don't have wires sitting in there, things like that, that's going to get pinched. Just look. It would have been wise at that point to have removed the film. So we will take this back off real quick. Now that we know it fits. Now, everyone's worst nightmare, a bare screen. That's one nice thing that's different between this wheel and the Hype R is that the screen is actually going to be touchscreen compatible this time, where the Hype R wheel having glass and kind of being offset is not. So kind of if you're flipping, if you're using Lovely Dash or something like that, like I use, you are not able to switch between kind of menus in the dash profile itself. on the height bar wheel, so you kind of get it and you set it. Mountain Dew should honestly be its own food group. And actually, now that I'm seeing how this is coming together, one of my initial, oh, there's two drops. Need to drive through. Just hopefully Rich doesn't see it. Thanks for volunteering as tester, Brandon. Now that I'm seeing this coming together and how it's kind of fitting, my original assessment that the work instruction was incorrect on mounting those 3D printed enclosure wings at the top right and left. That might actually have to come back out where I put screws in there originally. I'm guessing that might be how the rear enclosure that's actually going to hold the toggle switches is going to mount together. There we go. One thing you have to do, whether you buy this or get this from someone else or whatever, like you do have to go into game controllers in the just normal computer software, and kind of you want to calibrate these. Plus, then you can do the same thing kind of from the wheel itself. I don't remember which one it is, but I think the function keys maybe just down here, and then your dual clutch modes will be up here in the top. Yep, but you will kind of calibrate those based on what you're wanting to do in game. Staying on this side of the wheel, they want two M3x8 countersunks to go into the back of those wing panels of the enclosure. Yeah, it's turning out really well. The one thing I don't have yet is an additional semi-cube thing, so I might bump one off another one here at some point to test it. We will see how that goes. Now we're going to do the toggle switches. It's a 3D printed kind of enclosure for the back. I actually ended up buying, since it was readily available on their site, I just went ahead and got them through them instead of waiting on shipping from multiple locations. But I went ahead and got their toggle switch option and soldered on the three pin 100 mil cable length connectors. These things are just so kind of off and momentaries both directions. All right, next up, 3 by 22 millimeter countersunk hex head screws. Peel back in. Yep, so apologies for my earlier assessment. I was definitely wrong. We'll call them temporary screws instead of a mistake. How's that? Keep everything lined up. I think this back plate that's been 3D printed, that's originally where the conversation around adding the additional paddles instead of these switches comes in. That they're supposedly working on, is what I've heard, which would be nice. I definitely like the second paddle option. So here, these cables, so it leaves you nice access into the plugs and things like that. So we're just going to go on the two ends with the 3-pin connectors. Sometimes easier said than done to get the right angles on these. Light bend definitely made that easier. Long way to go through to finally hit where the threads are at in there. Opposite, just so it holds it down. Yeah, I might be able to send some of my profiles over. It's not too bad. Kind of self-taught. Watched a couple videos on just some random things, but not too bad. Discord plugin is nice to have. The iRace I think it's called, plugin is nice. You finally get yours from the giveaway event, Adam. Yeah, I'll get on there. Other than that, a lot of the stuff in even the iRacing, I don't use iRace too much just because I already had stuff programmed and had bought the $5 kind of icon pack from Complex SimWorks on Etsy to get all the kind of the logos and things like that, and then just programming hotkeys, like since iRacing has it set up basically for hotkeys type stuff anyway, or button assignment. All right, there is there's that. Like I said, momentary up or down. So I mean, theoretically, I bet you still could program that as a additional up or down shift if you wanted to, like I do for second paddles, but all right, next up we have all the different knob and funky switch items. You do not get a shortage of small bags, which is nice. These are all the knobs minus the funky switches take 3x5mm set screws, and the funky knobs take a 2.5x3mm set screw. It's you order it. It's just it's one large, pretty thick sticker decal, so it's kind of predetermined what options are already there. Oops, all on fly. Run it all the way in because that's a that center one is a fairly large. That's what she said. Run in for the set screw. Again, they've got splines, so only kind of snap on one way. Definitely don't over tighten the set screws. Don't want to strip those out. Doesn't take much pressure on the flat side of the splines to just keep pressure there. I think they offer like 3 or 4 different colors of each of these things, but like I said, I just went black. These funky knob set screws are so tiny. Again, definitely don't over tighten them. With that, Screen might have had some issues. I think it's back. But here is a finished see if we can plug it in. You guys still out there, or if anyone's still watching? Cool. Yeah, I don't know if I had a quick internet glitch. I was getting a little bit of an error for stream quality, but just opening up SimHub, trying to get it fired up. Things appear to be working. Good with that. I wonder if I kill the light, if it gets any better. Yeah, so there we go. Pokornyi Engineering 499 Ferrari wheel. Thanks for the few of you that hung out and watched, and I'm gonna end this. I think we're good to go. Post some videos later of a test drive. See y'all.